The hungry and homeless are crying for mercy.
All over the world.
They live in a cruel
Come on,
world.
everybody.
They have the right, the human right, to live life decently.
Do I hate? Do I love?
They have the right.
That's right.
So, good morning, good afternoon. Happy April Fool's Day for our Won't Be Fooled Again action. We're here today for many reasons, right? We're here from across the city of Los Angeles, across the county of Los Angeles in some ways, because we, like City Council and the Mayor, do agree that there is a crisis going on as it relates to homelessness. Unfortunately, we disagree with the way that the city is proceeding, passing a comprehensive plan that isn't funded and not stopping the ongoing criminalization of homelessness, making it illegal for basic life-sustaining activities for folks living on the streets. And so we're here today at the Westminster Senior Center because there has been an ongoing campaign by a lot of local residents to try to turn this space into storage, because we believe that there are plenty of unused properties across the city of Los Angeles that could be activated and used as emergency services until we build all the housing we need to. And we shouldn't be putting more resources that should be going into housing into emergency services, right? Right. So today we're going to hear from a few folks who have been involved in that campaign, a few folks who are involved in the overall efforts on the community level, on the service level, to inspire our city council members and mayor into action and to change the trend that has been going on for the past 20 plus years in Los Angeles. So the first speakers today are Mike and Barbara from Venice Community Housing and Veterans for Peace. We're going to talk a little bit about the storage project.
I'm Barbara Milliken with Venice Community Housing, the organization that Mike Bonin omitted to mention on Tuesday night as the one who started and kept up for over 3 years the very small storage facility on Venice Beach. We've been working and working with all volunteers until just recently, and we've been allowing people to store their possessions so they don't lose them or have them swept up by the LAPD. So we are really anxious to have everyone sign this petition and open this now that Mike has promised it. And I want to introduce you to one of our stalwart volunteers and someone who's been working at Free Storage Venice almost from the beginning, Mike Lindley.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Lindley. I work with Venice Community Housing. I'm also the chapter president of Veterans for Peace Los Angeles. The project we've had over there has been very successful. Bottom says there's over 1,000 people that are homeless on Venice Beach. He's afforded us 23 spaces. That's not quite enough. Every time we need to refill our containers, they get filled up right away. And so what we need to do is put the pressure on him. I want to say one thing about the Homeless Bill of Rights. It's also for justice, but it's also for peace of mind. And that's where we want to get this passed. So it's important that we work and get this passed so that people who are on the streets have the opportunity to be able to have peace of mind. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Barbara and Mike. Venice is a changing community like a lot of neighborhoods throughout the city of Los Angeles. But we want folks to know today that what we represent today is a coalition of folks from across the city of Los Angeles, both housed and unhoused, right? Everyone here believes that there is a concrete way that we can tackle this issue. And so what I want to do is invite Mike Rapkin to come speak as somebody who lives in Venice and works in Venice, and speak about his role in our coalition.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, I'm a homeowner here, and also, yes, I'm a employed person working right on Oceanfront Walk. And right outside my building, I've got some beautiful people that use tents at nighttime, people that are homeless, and I want to help them. I've been trying to help people along with many of these people for years. The key here, though, is that the people that are trying to help
the homeless people are not just advocates at LA Can and Venice Community Housing, but there are other people that live on the street, that live in homes. And that is why I'm saying, what can we do to make it a win-win situation for the residents who we know have, some of them objected over the years to having, they don't even want to see homeless people, they don't want to see anything that deals with them. The bottom line is we can have a win-win situation. How can we do that? Number one is storage. Just think about it. If we were able to use this senior center and people can store their goods here, then those same goods are going to be off the street. That makes it a win-win because the people who live in the community prefer not to see big bags and other people's storage. So let's get a place here and let's not wait. Let's not deal with when is it going to happen. Let's make it happen by the end of this month and get the possessions that are on the boardwalk and around and about this community into this storage place. But this isn't the only storage place we need. In our community, why is it that we don't have any new storage facilities since, I don't know when? It's been years and years since we had something in Skid Row and we've had something put up here by Venice Community Housing. We need in every councilmanic district at least one storage facility. Number two is that by storing it, we're going to allow people to not be cited for misdemeanors. We're going to have less problems. But in addition to the storage, we have a shelter problem. Yes, I don't think anybody wants to live on the streets, but we can help that situation by getting people off the streets. How can we do that? Number one, I want to talk RVs. You know, recently RV people their vehicles were impounded. So where do these people sleep? They slept on the street because they had no RVs. Why is it that we don't yet have a safe place with 400 or so city-owned properties? Let's get them, not next year, not in 2 years from now, but right away we need to have use of those city-owned buildings and allow people to sleep there, to put their RVs there. And by doing that, it's a win-win situation. So storage, shelter, cutting back on the criminalization of the homeless people. In closing, the Department of Justice has come out and said it's cruel and unusual punishment to punish people for being homeless, and it's probably unconstitutional. I'd like to put an end to it as a homeowner and as a business person working on Oceanfront Walk. Thank you, Eric.
All right, folks, so moving right along. Homelessness is fundamentally an issue of poverty and of resources and housing, right? Despite what law enforcement might say, despite what certain council members might say. And in a city like Los Angeles that is experiencing massive displacement and gentrification throughout the city of Los Angeles, it'd be a shame to try to separate this issue as if it's not related to that ongoing housing crisis. And so we're going to have Mark Lippman from the Westside Tenants Union, right? Westside Tenants Union come up and say a little more words about the connection between the ongoing housing crisis, the work that they're doing, and the issues that we're here to talk about today.
Thank you. First, a big shout out to everyone who's here, because any victories we have as a community is because of all of us doing the work that we're doing together. So thank you everyone who is here, and just for all the work that you're all doing. Thank you, because that's what it's about, community. Housing in Venice is under attack. Not only do we have a housing crisis, but we have a displacement crisis. Too many people are being thrown onto the streets every single day. Venice, I hear, is losing 11 units a week or something like that to the short-term rentals. We have 70,000 evictions happening in our courts every year, and that's not by accident. The landlords have found a loophole and figured out how they can get around rent control by just flooding the system with evictions, and the judges are so overwhelmed they just want to process the paperwork. And we've got people being evicted and becoming homeless every single day as part of a corrupt system. And it's the very same corrupt system that attacked people living in their vehicles just a few short years ago. and threw everyone out onto the street. It's the same system that's giving us long-term promises and short-term batons and sweeps and harassment and criminalization for basic human services. Our work is intricately connected, and we have to work together as a community for all of us. So we're organizing in the community to do just that. Anyone, any person who is not in control of their housing, please come join us. We're organizing right now at the Venice Community Housing Corp. The Westside Tenants Union is meeting. Our next meeting, April 21st, 6:30 p.m. Please come out, join the community and make a difference. Thank you.
We have allies and partners at the Venice Justice Committee's Citation Clinic with Operations Monthly. We have people at LA CAN. We have people at the Venice Community Housing Corporation, the Westside Tenants Union, and we expect at the very least our council members and our elected officials to be working just as hard on tackling the real issues that are going on that face this crisis. And so in closing, we have one last speaker, Thelmy Perez from the LA Human Rights and Housing Collective, to talk about sort of the citywide issues and implications of the work we're doing.
Hi everyone, I'll be brief. My name is Thelmy Perez, and we've been working across the city for many, many years now. I want to say decades and decades, to ensure that every single resident of Los Angeles has access to their human right to housing, has a housing unit. This is exactly what ends homelessness. Homelessness can only be ended with housing, not handcuffs. Housing, not handcuffs. Housing, not handcuffs. That's right. And so that's what we're calling on the city today. Not just to open this as a storage facility, which is a temporary solution, a temporary thing until we actually have the housing that we need in the city of Los Angeles. There are 26,000 people, over 26,000 people on the street today. We need to end that cycle. So housing, keep what we have, make sure that we're not losing any more rent stabilized, affordable units, any more public housing, and that we're building more. No criminalization, end the practice of handcuffs over housing. Repeal 5611. This is a racist law. This is a classist law. This is something that is hurting our entire city, our whole city and our community. And then temporary solutions until we have those things. Storage facilities, mobile hygiene facilities, things that make it easier for folks who are experiencing homelessness to live with dignity. So thank you so much everyone for being here. Again, housing, not handcuffs. Housing, not handcuffs. Beautiful, thank you so much.
So folks are more than welcome to stick around all day. We'll do some outreach, we'll go on the boardwalk. We're gonna have some questions, yeah.
I'm just asking real quickly, understanding that there's a lot of pretext using when it comes to dealing with homeless people with LAPD. We're considering that storage is important, and I'm looking at just the size of this, and I'm just considering sheer magnitudes here, right? Just the size of this place. I heard this gentleman mention that we do need more than just this place. We don't want to create a situation where now that there's storage given, an open license is in the hands of LAPD to kind of deal with people about their property, because people are going to have property no matter what, and this is off the beach. I do want to remind the people who are watching this who don't know where we are. We are at least 3 or 4 blocks off the beach. So the people who live on the beach, who have considered ideas like locker banks at every bathroom station, these ideas, I don't know how much airing those got. So who would we address these questions to not to diminish the solution, because this would be a better solution than nothing. And we are fully in support of the city going forward and having this come forward. But we'd like to ask these questions as well. We don't want to just present the solution and not look at maybe other problems that will be created as this solution is presented.
That's a perfect question. We're going to talk about that ongoing throughout the day, but just a short answer. we couldn't agree more, right? That the human rights of property, the civil rights of property, does not end with the creation of storage. It doesn't even end with the creation of more homes, right? And so this is a drop in the bucket. This is one opportunity that should be replicated, but it should not be confused, as some council members, including Mike Bond sometimes, to suggest that if we have housing, that gives carte blanche to law enforcement to therefore enforce whatever unjust criminal laws that they have to take homeless people's property. Creation of public space, this is an opportunity that we want to uplift, an opportunity that the city should take advantage of. We expect the city council and Mike Bonnet to take leadership on this. We expect Councilmember Garcetti to also veto 5611, a horrible law that criminalizes rights of property. I call him city council member? Woo! Former city council member, current mayor Eric Garcetti, to veto unjust laws like 5611 that are criminalizing public space. And until then, we're going to keep saying, house keys, house keys, house keys, everybody, so we're going to get started soon as we can identify if there's any pressing or otherwise.
Here to work with people that are unhoused that have tickets, and there's legal representation. It's an amazing phenomenon. It's very positive. Our next one is going to be Sunday at the corner of at the corner of Oceanfront Walk and Park at 1 o'clock. And we have flyers if you want it. So we're going to have basically 3 phases. The first phase of our training is going to be a general Know Your Rights. And John Rafling is going to run us through exactly what we should and shouldn't be doing.
So this is question number 1. As Peggy passes them out, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to read this scenario. Scenario number 1. You are walking down the sidewalk on the way to visit a friend. A police car drives past, then stops. The police officer is allowed to stop you for no reason at all. Who knows the answer to that question? True or false? False. Who said false? Okay, why is that? We haven't broken the law. Okay, because you haven't broken the law. The police officer cannot stop you for no reason. Anyone else know why it is they cannot stop you for no reason? PC, someone said. What is PC?
Politically correct?
Yeah, no. Probable cause. Okay. They have to be politically correct with their probable cause. That means they actually have to have what's called reasonable suspicion to stop you. They have to reasonably believe that you've done something wrong to stop you. Now, what if you just jaywalked? There's no cars around, but you jaywalked. Can they stop you then? Yes. It doesn't matter how petty or minor the violation is, they can stop you. They can't arrest you, but they can stop you. Okay, that was an easy one. Let's try the next one, number 2. Since I have the microphone, I'll read this one as well. If a police officer asks you to give him an ID, you do not have to give it to him. What do you think of that one?
False.
False. Wow. Listen to all of you people caving into the oppressive system. Who says false? Who are the caver-inners? Oh, I've shamed you all. All right. Who says true? You do not have to give it to him.
But I do it anyway.
But I'm kind of leading you on in this one. Okay, so no, you don't actually have to give an ID. If you are detained with reasonable suspicion, you have to identify yourself. It's a 2003 Supreme Court case, but you don't have to give them your ID.
How do you know if it's reasonable suspicion?
Don't necessarily know, right? He may have gotten a call saying that a guy in gray sweats and a black t-shirt with blonde hair had just done a burglary, in which case he's got reasonable suspicion to stop me. Or he lies, right? So you don't necessarily know, and that's the tricky point here, and that's one of the key things about what I want to talk about, which is you got your rights, but we also have to deal with reality. right, with reality, which is we want to get through our encounter with the cops without getting shot, without getting arrested, or without making things worse for yourself. So, Peggy, you said you don't have to, but you give them the ID anyway. Okay, well that's a smart approach.
I'm not a civil rights attorney and I don't have a lot of money and my boyfriend would be really hard for my partner to yell me out.
Okay, so the whole point is you got to assess the reality of the situation. Do you want to assert your rights? How do you assert your rights? I say, well, officer, is there some reason why I need to give you an ID? And maybe you can get away with talking that way to a police officer, maybe not. Depends on the situation. Some people do talk that way and some don't. Of course, some people get knocked over the head by police officers. Go ahead, you got a question?
Can you verbally identify yourself and not give the ID?
Correcto. You can do that. Verbally identify. That is what by law you're required to do. Verbally identify yourself. Not give them your ID. But if they're citing you and giving you a ticket and you don't give them your ID, then they're going to haul you in. So, no, we do not have to have an identification. There is no law that says you have to have an identification. But if you drop your cigarette butt on the sidewalk, which you shouldn't do anyway, and they cite you for littering, and you don't have an ID, then they can haul you to jail for that. All right.
Wait a minute, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can't they just haul you to jail until they say they can identify you?
Okay, but they can haul you to jail. Yeah. Okay, next one.
Be a while.
Next one, because I don't want to stay on each one for too long.
Okay, all right, go on.
All right. Number 3, a police officer suspects that you have committed a crime. He stops you and tells you to put your hands on the hood of the car. You say to him,
Fuck you!
no, Peggy, not fuck you. You say to him, fuck you, pig. Okay. He now has the right to beat you up. True or false? False. True. Okay, so there's something called the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, which says that you can speak your mind. Now, I'm not saying that that is always valued, so yes, you're right to say, fuck you, pig. Is there reality? What's going to happen if you say, fuck you, pig? You might get a beat down. You might get something else. It's probably not the best approach. On the other hand, you have the right to do it. All right, that's a pretty easy one. All right, should we go on? Number 4, you're walking down the sidewalk and see the police driving towards you. They have already stopped you twice this week and bugged you for your ID and asked you questions. You decide to run. You are not a fast runner, and they catch you. They have the right to beat you up. True or false?
But they do it by...
They do it anyway. All right, let me tell you a story. A quick story, a bedtime story. Okay, this is a story. Here's a story. It's a real quick, simple one. Every time people run, when they get caught, the cops beat them up. That's just policy. Now, they don't admit it, but my God, every single time. And they'll say, well, when I caught him, he kicked me, so I had to fight him. Okay, so, but here's the thing, right? Let's say they're rolling up on you. Let me change the question here a little bit. They're rolling up on you and you run. Is that a good idea? Do you have the right to run? Or if they say, hey, come here, I want to talk to you. You know, Robert, come here, I want to talk to you. Okay, do you have to talk to them? Okay, you don't have to talk to them. Why not? Fifth Amendment. Okay, the Fifth Amendment right, you got the right to remain silent. But, yes, you don't have to talk to them. You can say, no, my attorney says never talk to the police, right? Fifth Amendment. That's always a good line to remember. Write it on your hand so you remember it if you ever get arrested. Okay, but do you have to come over to them, right? Hey, come here, I want to talk to you. Right, because this happens all the time, right, out on the streets. Anyone had this happen? They rolled down the boardwalk in their SUV. Hey, man, come here, I want to talk to you. Do you have to come here and talk to them? Or come here and be silent? No. Okay. No, you don't. If it is what is called a consensual encounter. Anyone know what a consensual encounter is? This is one of those legal terms they don't teach in law school.
Both people agree.
What's that?
Both people agree.
Consensual means a consent. You've consented. It means you're agreeing to talk to them. A cop, just like anyone, I can come up, hey, Noah, you want to talk? And Noah can say, no. Right? Same thing with a cop. If I'm a cop, I say, hey, Noah, you want to talk? Noah can say, no, and walk away. Right? Because it's a consensual encounter. Now, if they say,
What if he says, what's your name?
he says, what's your name? What do you think? Do you have to tell him your name?
I just want to know. I don't want
Yeah. You don't have to tell him your name. You don't have to say anything to him if it is a consensual encounter. Now, what if it is, but you don't know, right? What if they say, well, no, you need to come over here. Get over here. Come here, I want to talk to you. Hey, what's your name? You have the right to keep on walking. You have the right to not tell them your name. You have the right to say, fuck you, pig. You have the right to ignore them. Or you have the right to say, hi, have a nice day, I'm not interested in talking to you. But, as this gentleman is talking about, what's the energy of that encounter going to be? Now, one approach that people take is, you know, when they say, hey, come here, I want to talk to you. Well, am I being detained? Let's say you're busy, right? You're late for, you have an appointment somewhere that you have to be in, you're late. You don't want to waste your time talking to this cop, right? You have the right to keep on walking. Yes, you do. And then you got to stop. You don't have to talk to him. You don't have to talk to him. Right. So if they say you are being detained, because there's a difference between a detention and a consensual encounter. But even though you have the right to walk away, the question is, how's the encounter going to go? Are they going to escalate things to a detention if you walk away? All right, let's keep going. Number 5, a police officer stops you and asks if he can look inside your backpack. You can tell him to leave you alone. Who knows? What do you think? Who's got the answer to that? Can I go in? Can Officer Friendly go in your backpack?
Hell no.
That's right. Kay knows exactly it. I do not consent to you searching my backpack. Now that fool may search your backpack anyway, which would be him breaking the law, but without probable cause, reason to believe that there's something in that backpack, they can't just go in your backpack. That would be a lie. And they get to lie, and they lie all the time. That's just plain false. Now you're adding a whole different wrinkle. If you're on parole, you have what's called a search condition. A search condition means that you have to agree to a search of your person or property at any time, day or night. I'm starting out with parole. Probation, you may or may not have that condition, but if, let's just say, 99% of everyone that gets put on probation now they give search conditions. So if you're on probation or parole, unless it's a very unusual probation, then you have given up the right to not consent to a search of your backpack. Well, if they've got probable cause to arrest you, then they're going to arrest you and they're going to hold your backpack and they can't go in it until they get a search warrant. In theory, they'll come up with some excuse. They'll come up with some excuse to go in it. Although if they're actually arresting you, they may be able to do what's called a search incident to arrest. So that's a different story. If they're arresting you, practically speaking, they're not going to hold you there to get a search warrant. Now, in the computer age, soon enough, they'll be able to, have their digital text message to the judge, search warrant type thing. That's coming soon enough, and it'll take them 3 minutes to get a search warrant. But we're not there yet. Number 6. The police put handcuffs on you, throw you in the back seat of the patrol car, take you to the station, place you in a jail cell. They never read you your Miranda rights. Because they do not read your rights, they cannot charge you with a crime. Who knows the answer to that? Come on, there's some law students here who must know that. Alright, then there's some paralegals, community activists. They can charge you. Alright, I'm a lawyer, I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I can't tell you how many times, first thing people say is, they never read me my rights, how can they charge me? Okay, I'm sorry. Doesn't work that way. The only thing that them not reading your rights helps with is if they've questioned you and you've confessed to the crime and they didn't read you your rights, then they don't get to use your confession against you. Don't confess. Well, that is the next question. You've been arrested and accused of a crime you did not commit. The detective comes in to your cell, the cell at the station, and says he wants to hear your side of the story. He reads you the Miranda warnings. He seems like a very nice guy.
Yeah, don't they?
You should agree to talk to him and answer all of his questions. Alright. Alright, who says no? Who says yes? Come on, he's a nice guy. He didn't commit the crime. Alright. The Miranda rights, let's see if I can do it from memory. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I don't need to go any further. No, thank you, sir. I will not be speaking to the police without my lawyer present. Please remember that, everyone. No matter how innocent you are, you don't know what they're going to be trying to put on you. You don't know what little bit of something that you say they can use to link you to some crime that they've made up. So don't talk to them. You'll tell them everything once your lawyer gets here. Alright, that's an easy one. Just remember it. Don't talk to these fools. Now, look, if you're helping them solve a real crime, whatever, you can talk to them, I guess. But don't talk to them when they've arrested you. Alright. You are walking down the street, talking on your cell phone that has a video camera feature. I wrote this years ago before every cell phone had a video camera feature. Since then, I've actually learned how to use mine. You see the police detaining two of your friends. The officers seem very angry. You stop and start filming the officers. One of them turns to you and orders you to stop filming. You must do what he says. Who's on Community Watch at LA Can? You gotta know the answer to that one. Alright. The cop tells you to stop filming. You must do what he says. Give me an answer. Venice Justice Committee. Carl says no. Thumbs down. That's right. Do we have the right to film the police?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is that an absolute right? No. Can you get up in between them while they're arresting someone and do that? No, you can't what is it?
Can't interfere with them.
Okay. Well, you're interfering with me. You're 30 yards away. You're interfering with me. Can you go 140? Okay. Now let's go to the next. All right, so everyone understands. You got the right to film them? All right. You see... Okay, we can move on to the real deal. Thank you. All right. That's true.
Got this big ass racism and gentrification sign like it's the fucking whole thing. It ain't nothing about that. That's a small thing. That's what increased that sign. Get the fuck out of here.
You see police arresting someone at gunpoint. The police seem very aggressive and you are afraid they might shoot this person. You pull out your camera and begin to film them. You are legally allowed to film if you are more than 10 feet away from the officers. If you're more than 10 feet away, is your right to film. Who knows? Yes. Anyone else think yes? 10 feet away. Yes? Anyone else? Anyone else? 10 feet away. Okay. I'm almost. I haven't got there yet. All right. 10 feet away. Can you film from 10 feet away? As long as you're 10 feet away, you're cool, you can film. Who knows the answer to that? I'm hearing a lot of yes. The answer is no. The answer is no. You have to be a safe distance away. You can't be interfering. That could be 5 feet away, but it may not be, and probably not. You got to stay a pretty good distance. And if there's guns out, you got to really be careful. Okay? And that's something that is a lot of misinformation among cop watchers and people who are documenting the police, is the belief that, well, I'm 10 feet away or I'm 15 feet away. There's not a set defined distance. You have to be a safe distance away. And how do you determine that? That's a difficult question, and the police are going to say you're not a safe distance away, no matter how far you are. All right. Number 10. It's a warm summer evening. People are sitting outside on the waterfront drinking beers. Everyone knows that. That's a bar on the boardwalk. You are thirsty and start drinking your beer on the bench right across from the bar. The police can't arrest you. That should be, okay, so that should be true, right? They're outside drinking a beer. Why can't I? That should be true. I'm with you there. Okay, are you allowed to drink out in public? Drink alcohol? No. Okay, that's an easy one, right? We know that. So be careful. Even though it is unfair. Okay. Number 11. It's after 9 p.m. and the bathrooms on the boardwalk are all locked up. You have to pee very badly. You pee on the sand right next to the locked toilet. You can't be convicted for urinating in public.
No.
You can? You can't. You can. Well, but what's your defense? And this, I gotta go. There's no bathroom. Where else am I gonna go? I didn't say you can't be cited. You will get cited for that. So you gotta be careful, right? But I don't know if you can be convicted of that, because what's your choice, right? Okay, necessity. I'm not suggesting that you should go out of your way to do it and make sure the cops aren't around, but until they open the bathrooms, where else are you going to go? All right, number 12. Your possessions, including clothing and medications, are neatly packed inside a suitcase. You have to go to a doctor's appointment and cannot carry the suitcase with you, so you leave it with a friend. While you're away, your friend gets arrested, leaving your suitcase on the ground by the boardwalk. Bureau of Sanitation workers can come and throw your suitcase in the trash. Okay. He laughs. This happens. This happens every Friday, doesn't it? Okay, so what do you think? Do they have the right to do that? Can they just throw your stuff in the trash that you have neatly in your suitcase? All right, well, yes, practically speaking, how do you prove it? I'm hearing a no.
You have to identify it. It looks like it's been well kept, taken care of. I mean, that's hard to identify.
Exactly. Well, if it looks like it's abandoned, right, then that's one thing. Then they can do what? Does anyone know? Take it downtown and hold it. Who said that? Exactly. If it looks like it's been abandoned, they can take it downtown and hold it. If it doesn't look like it's abandoned, they're not allowed to take it. Now, do they take it? Every Friday they take it, right? They cannot simply throw it away, even if it looks like it's abandoned. Do they throw it away? Yes. Every Friday they're throwing it away. So they should maybe come down here for the Know Their Rights training so they know what they don't have the right to do. All right. It's 6:30 a.m. and you are still asleep on the sidewalk of a side street. Police officers wake you up. Without giving you the opportunity to move, they can write you a ticket. Who said no?
I said no.
All right. Anyone else? Anyone got a different idea? Sean, tell us why you say no. Explain the whole, like, what our right is to sleep on the sidewalk. Do you?
The right is, you have the right to sleep on the sidewalk from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
I have a copy of the Jones settlement here if anybody wants a copy.
All right, and that's per an agreement that the city of Los Angeles made, where they're agreeing until they build a certain amount of affordable housing, people have the right to sleep and sit on the sidewalk from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And before the police can cite you for that, they got to give you a warning. Well, the beach is a little different. The boardwalk, the side streets, are they actually doing that? Are they citing people before giving a warning?
Yep.
Okay, so they need to learn their rights. They don't have a right to do that. All right.
You can't block the sidewalk.
Well, you can't block the sidewalk. That's a whole different story. Agreed. You cannot block the sidewalk. You can't block an entry to a building. All right, number 14. You live in your tent. All of your possessions are in your tent, including your private papers. The police cannot enter your tent and go through your stuff.
True.
True, the police cannot. Who thinks not true? I'm hearing some not true. Okay? The answer is, you're both right. True and not true.
Can that be, John?
That it's a mystery. How can that be true?
That's why you're an attorney.
It depends. Does anyone know what it depends on?
The time.
Okay. One, yes, probable cause. If they got probable cause, they can go in. Go ahead, I couldn't hear. My understanding, and this is not a simple area of law, is that if you are legally set up, if you are legally camping in your tent, then your tent is like that apartment there, your home. If you are legally camped out, they can't go through it. That's my understanding of the law. However, if it's after 6 a.m., and you're still got your tent set up on the sidewalk, then you're not legally camped there, and then they can go in. So, yes and no, depends on the situation, so be careful. All right. Number 15, you suffer from anxiety, and you got a medical marijuana recommendation. You buy your marijuana from a legal collective. You're allowed to smoke it freely on the boardwalk.
No.
Who said no, you're not? All right. That is correct. No smoking on the boardwalk. Okay, well, what about right out here? Can we all fire up our medical marijuana right here? And if so, would you pass me some? Oh, sorry. No. Can't do it. All right, that's a pretty simple one. All right, number 16. You're standing on the boardwalk talking to some friends. Officers drive up and tell you that you have to move along and cannot stay there. You can refuse to obey. You can. I'm hearing yes, you can. Anyone got a different view?
Not after 10 p.m.
Not after 10 p.m. Why do you say that? Oh yeah, the board. You're right, boardwalk. All right, let's say we're up here. We're up here in Westminster Park. Cops say you got to move along. I'm hearing no over there. Let's say it's 9 o'clock on the boardwalk. No. Everyone agrees. No. Guess what? The cops don't get to tell you where you can hang out.
Thank God for that.
And thank God, but thank ourselves, because we got to stand up for that. Because all of these rights we have, but if we don't stand up for them, then we lose them. All right, that's the end of my presentation. If you got questions, I'm around. All right, thank you.
Now, and I'm not quite as fun as John is, but this is an outline about documenting. First of all, I want to remind you not to talk to the police. You know, I see so many people talking to the police all the time, and really, it's fine. Hello, good morning, have a nice day. But, you know, why are you blabbing to the police? I don't understand the purpose. They are just going to collect information about you, and that possibly will hurt you or your friends. So be careful not to talk to the police. When you see something happening that you know needs to be documented because somebody may be harmed, first of all, it may start out as something innocent and it might escalate. But if the police are interacting with somebody and detaining somebody, you might want to check it out, because things can escalate really fast and people can get hurt. And you may be the only source of evidence that can help that person because they are being unfairly charged with resisting arrest when they are beating you. And you have no proof of this because all these people are walking by what's happening. So I'm saying you should stop and check it out. Because not everybody who is being detained by the police did something wrong. Sometimes they are being treated wrong. So you have to remember that. If you look at the list, you'll see that, if you have a recording device, just know how to use it. That's really important. Another thing is, oh, here's the police. Let me pull it out. Don't make sudden movements. Don't get yourself shot because they say they thought it was a gun. No sudden movements. Think about what you are documenting and why. This is an escalating situation. You know this person. It's not going well. And somebody else is walking along down the street in front of you, in between your view of your filming, and they happen to drop a bag of pot on the ground right in front of you as you're filming this incident, right in front of you. Do you do a close-up of the pot that just fell on the ground? No. Focus on what is going on. Focus on the before, during, and after, what the police are doing, what the city agent is doing. Don't talk while you're recording. You know, I see that all the time, people talking over their video recording. Don't restate the evidence, the obvious. It doesn't help anything. I mean, it's okay if you have to say something, but like, officer, I have a right to witness. I'm not interfering. You know, say things like that. You could film yourself backing up when they tell you to back up. But don't start commentating. The police have numbers on the sides of their cars. There's a lot of times you can ask an officer, "Officer, may I have your business card?" And it makes it really easy because they give you a card and it actually says something on the back of it, which really helps you remember what this was all about, and it has their numbers. But a lot of times they won't give you the card. But you're a witness. You have a right to that information. Do you want to push the subject? Well, maybe not. They have a description. You can get a close-up of their names on their shirts. They have numbers on the sides of their cars. If you write down the date, the time, and you have a description and the number on the car, it's pretty easy to identify the officers later on. If there's witnesses, get them to join in with you and give you a statement. Get their phone number and their email. Do you know if that person is being arrested? Do you know their name? Excuse me, do you know this person being arrested? Do you know their name? Their last name? A lot of times it's hard because we know street names. Get information. Try to not become part of an incident. I've seen a lot of people get really aggressive with cop watch, and you know, that's a technique, but try not to get arrested. If you're there to get arrested, fine, but if you're there to trying to document something, getting arrested sort of blows that. Try not to get arrested. If they say back up, I generally back up. Maybe I don't do it immediately. I'll say, "Yes, ma'am, I'm going to back up right now, but I'm not interfering and I have a right to witness." I've been pushed and shoved by the police and other city officials because I didn't back up fast enough. I was threatened to be put in handcuffs 2 months ago if I didn't cross the street. It happens. But, you know, you just got to feel your way through it if you're going to document an incident. So, you know, I have to tell you, I see people videotape and not know what to do with their documentation all the time. And where does it go? It goes into the ether. It's tough. It's a tough thing to handle, your documentation. But there's things you can do. And if it's evidence and something really bad has happened to somebody, they've been handcuffed, thrown in the back of a police car, seat belted in, and pepper sprayed in their face while they weren't even a threat. So, and you don't know their name, you know, what are you going to do? Are you going to put it on YouTube? Yes. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe you're going to call the public defender's office of where they got arrested and see if you can give them this evidence, because that person is being charged. And they're being charged with resisting arrest or another offense. And if they weren't, you have evidence that will help this person, and you should give it to the public defender's office. Well, if the public defender's office doesn't want it, maybe there's, then you could call the National Lawyers Guild, and on this piece of paper, you have 2 emails you can contact us at. So, what's good documentation? Let's talk about what good documentation looks like. What does it look like? A close-up on somebody screaming? Maybe not. It's not edited. It's not necessarily put on the internet. It shows the before, during, and after of an incident. So think about all of these things. You know who you're watching. Are you watching the guy who dropped the pot on the ground so you can get that in the shot because you think that's funny? Or are you looking at how they're being too rough with the person being detained? So, you know, you have to focus on why you're documenting this and protect yourself from arrest. That's what I have to say about documentation. And let's say you're arrested or ticketed. What are you going to do? What if a person is arrested or ticketed? So the next people that are going to talk to you, which are probably more entertaining than me, Lahaina, did you want to kick it off? All right. So at our clinic we have some really awesome volunteer attorneys that do the most amazing work, and Lahaina is one of them. And she's here. She's going to tell you in all of her glory what to do if you get a ticket or you're arrested.
Hi everyone. Noah will also be assisting me present. So Noah and I have prepared a handout for everyone. And if you need more, they're on the table over there. But it's basically step-by-step of what you should do if you get what we like to call quality of life citations. But this also applies to any traffic citation too, so you can carry it over even if you know you got a speeding ticket. So what we'll start with is, the first question is what you're cited for. Become familiar with it. A lot of our most common citations we see at the clinic are sleeping on the sidewalk, sleeping on the beach, smoking tickets. So just become familiar with this and familiar with the statute you're cited with.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I mean, it's really important, like Lahaina said, to know or to become familiar with like the elements of the things that the cops are charging everybody for. My friend Daniel, who was manning a stop. Oh no, he's over there. There you go, Daniel. So Daniel came into the clinic like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever, and we hung out. Daniel was cited for sleeping on the beach, right? Sleeping on the beach. Yes, it's just a terrible thing to do. It's just degrading the society around us. And so Daniel was cited for sleeping on the beach, and that citation, the elements of that offense are really basic. You can't sleep on the beach between 12 p.m., or 12 a.m. I should say, and 5 a.m. I think that's it. And there's nothing else. Sometimes they'll charge you with the don't have a tent on the beach thing. That becomes a little bit more involved. You're not allowed to have, I can't even remember how many sides. It has 4 sides, Colleen was saying. 4 sides, and 3 of them have to be enclosed, something like that. Can't remember the exact elements of that offense, but The sleeping on the beach one, really basic, and just be aware of it. The other offense we see a lot of is smoking. Also, just a horrible thing to do. Can't believe that people still do that. Cops can't either. So people get tickets for smoking all the time. We defend them all the time. The elements of that are a little bit more complicated. Does anyone know the elements of a smoking ticket? What can't you do with a cigarette or other tobacco product? It can't be lit. Okay, so it has to be on fire, right? You can have like a cigarette, a tobacco cigarette or whatever. If it's not lit, it can be in your hand, but they can cite you if it's either lit or if you're smoking it. But it has to be tobacco, so I've actually brought like the defense before that maybe the cop was watching somebody smoke a joint. They didn't realize that it was weed. But the judge didn't buy that for some reason.
Tell me it was still smoke.
It was still smoke, but that's not it. Like, I've read the law. I've read the law.
The law says tobacco products.
I've read the law. The law says that it has to be a tobacco product. So, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. John can tell me. And it may not be. But it's conceivable that we can use a defense. If you were smoking weed and you weren't smoking tobacco, then maybe we can use that as a defense going forward. The trick here, or the key here, is we want to be pretty creative when we're defending these cases, and we want to challenge every element of the offense if possible. So if the thing wasn't lit, make sure that you remember, okay, it wasn't lit. If there's some way to, I don't know, not make it lit anymore when the cop's showing up, all right, well, try to do that maybe. I don't know. If you're smoking weed, we can discuss whether that's a legitimate defense as well.
So another point we put on our outline is, even though you may not have intended to violate the law, an infraction case can still be found guilty even without intent. That's a common misperception we see pretty often. Next, after becoming familiar with what you were cited for, you have to plan for your arraignment. What we do at our clinics, we help book the arraignments for you, so we hope to see you there, and we can help you with booking your arraignment if it's a type of citation we don't normally take and represent you on. We can at least help you book your arraignment. If you choose to book it on your own, it's pretty straightforward kind of on lacourt.org. If you want help with it, again, contact us. We will be there this Sunday, no, Peggy's already said it, but on Park and Oceanfront Walk at 1. There you can book your arraignment. They have AM, PM ones. Your arraignment is not your trial. And I think the outline's a little confusing, so you'll see the cross out there. So don't expect to see your cop there. Don't bother bringing evidence. It's just you go there and you plead guilty, not guilty. If you plead not guilty, ask for a trial. That's where we have found a lot of our successes. We bring the cases to trial, and a lot of times we hope the cop doesn't show up, and then your case is dismissed.
What day was that going to be? Ocean?
This Sunday at Oceanfront Walk and Park. And Peggy has flyers.
All right, so after you get arraigned and you've set your trial date, or hopefully you have one of us as your attorney, and your attorney has set your arraignment date for you. Daniel, your arraignment date is in April? April 26th. Okay, so I may, or someone will, hopefully, be showing up to set that for trial, the arraignment. Once you set your case for arraignment, it goes from usually Beverly Hills in these cases. If we're dealing with cops that are citing you in Venice, it'll go from Beverly Hills for your arraignment to Santa Monica for your trial. And they're always going to be tried in Santa Monica before one of two, either judge or commissioners. The commissioner's name in Santa Monica is, what's her name? Pamela Davis? Pamela Davis. I don't remember her name because I never talked to her anymore, except for yesterday because I'm dumb. But I don't talk to her anymore because she's horrible and she hates all living things, except for cops. She loves cops. Has anyone checked, been at a trial with Davis before? Aside from the lawyers. I know y'all have. You guys? Oh, so the alternative, if you want to go to Santa Monica and go to trial, or if you go to Santa Monica and go to trial, is to appear before Judge Hahn, who used to be the mayor of Los Angeles. And surprisingly, Judge Hahn, even though he used to be the mayor of a major American city, is like a really fair and thoughtful human being. Sometimes, at least more so than Pamela Davis, who has no idea what's going on. So Judge Hahn will listen to your trial. So what happens at trial? Has anyone ever gone through a trial before for one of these wonderful tickets, aside from the lawyers? Any lawyer want to talk about what happens? Okay, we'll talk about what happened. So you have to present your, well actually first you have to listen to what the cop says. So usually in our experience, the cop will read a little list or his little notes that he made on his pad when he was arresting you and perhaps beating you unnecessarily, obviously. And he'll just read it off and he'll say, okay, on August 25th, 2004, I remember this clearly, even though it was 12 years ago, the defendant was smoking a tobacco cigarette in this exact location, blah, blah, blah. And then you will have the opportunity to cross-examine the police officer. Now, for us, when we cross-examine the police officer, it is usually really helpful if we can get in touch with the client beforehand, because we want to call the cop out when he's full of shit, or she is full of shit. And in order to do so effectively, we need to talk to the person who's actually, like, been charged with the violation. Or be there, yeah, I mean, you guys can be there as well, which is actually the most helpful. But the point being, it is super helpful for you, if you are the client being charged with a violation or an infraction by the cop, to show up for trial. And at the very least, to contact or be in contact, respond to communications from your attorney in order to figure out what evidence we need to defend you, and what questions we can ask the cop to make it clear that he's full of shit, or she is full of shit. What else at trial?
One of the things, not in chronological order, but before actually going in front of the judge and talking to your cop, you have the opportunity, there's a few minutes cut out in court where you can go and talk to the cop. One of the things that we like to do is we like to tell the cop, you know, our client is now in rehab, or our client has become a priest and he's reformed and he's never touching a cigarette again, or whatever. You know, like, we just like create this beautiful narrative that kind of makes the cop feel like, oh, there's progress, like, and sympathize and see that our client is in fact a human being, and like we like to remind them of any disabilities our clients have and things like that. So if you have mitigating circumstances, bring that up, you know, before, and a lot of times the cops will, you know, dismiss the case because they're happy to see the progress that our clients have made. It's really, really helpful when our clients come to trial. Almost every time cop asks me where my client is, and they always want to, you know, see them and see their progress. Fortunately, we have a hard time getting in touch with a lot of clients just because of the nature of our work. But if you can, keep in touch with our clinic, and you get our trial dates, you know, through Peggy or through me, and we can tell you when we need you to show up and address and everything. Our trials are always at 8:30 in the morning here at the Santa Monica Courthouse. So if you do have mitigating circumstances, like one of the things that we try to do too for people who have drinking public cases is we show that they're in AA classes. Sometimes the judge will order the AA classes, a certain number of them. If you are in those, you bring proof of that. And anything, just common sense things that make you look like you're an angel.
Everything that Lahaina said sounds absolutely correct. The one last thing that I think it's like important to mention is that for whatever reason, if you don't have an attorney for one of these cases and you get a ticket and for some reason you can't come to the clinic or you can't get an attorney or whatever, it's really important to show up for everything. If you don't show up, what's going to happen is you're going to get a failure to appear on your record, and getting a failure to appear creates just like a whole new mess of madness. You can get, like, there might be like a warrant, a bench warrant issued for your arrest, and then when the cop harasses you again, you'll get arrested again, or you'll get arrested because you failed to appear at a prior court hearing, either at an arraignment or if you're tried in absentia, which means you're tried at trial because you didn't show up for trial. You know, that could have consequences as well. So the most important thing to do often is to actually show up. Whether you have an attorney or not. If you have an attorney, important to show up, like Lahaina said, because that gives us a lot of leverage with the cop and with the judge. If you don't have an attorney, really important to show up so you avoid getting failures to appear and all that horrible stuff. So yeah, try to make your court dates if at all possible. And if you do have a failure to appear on a prior ticket, it's really important to get that taken care of. So if you have a failure to appear, you can't just sit on it. You gotta take it either to the clinic or some attorney somewhere, hopefully to one of us at the clinics every month on Sunday at 1 p.m. And we can go into court and hopefully take care of that as well. You definitely don't want to leave that hanging on your record.
So at trial, what will happen is you'll have the opportunity to present your evidence or cross-examine the cop. It's just it's kind of easy to do this even if you don't have us. You just kind of want to show that you are in fact guilty, and if you are guilty, you know, and it's pretty obvious that you are, you can focus on the mitigating circumstances with the things that I talked about earlier, like showing that you're indigent, you can't afford the fees, or that you'd rather have community service, which is an option. Also, one of the things that Noah talked about on the failure to appear, it will turn into an arrest warrant. We can help you get those out of warrants pretty quickly. So if you come to our clinic, you can also do it at lacourt.org. When you book an arraignment, it takes that warrant away, and then you're, you know, in the clear. And then we can appear on the warrant arraignment on your behalf if it's one of the types of tickets we work with. Oh, another thing is, please present only relevant facts at that time when you have the opportunity to speak and speak your evidence and cross-examine the police. We've had some clients, you know, start talking about very political issues, and our judge already hates us enough as it is. If you have Davis, so it's really important to stick to the relevant facts of your case. Like, don't try to get too political or argue with the cop. It's not going to help, because honestly, Davis already is siding with the cop before you open your mouth. So you really have to do your best to just stick with the facts. And also, you can bring witnesses. So if you have witnesses and, you know, photos, anything that'll help support your case, bring that. There's an opportunity to show it to the cop beforehand. Like I said, that time where you can tell the cop your progress. You can also show them the photos and be like, look, this wasn't even me that you cited it for, or whatever. The cop can dismiss it, and then you don't even have to go through the whole presentation of your evidence in front of the judge.
I guess the last thing I'll say, who has the burden of proof in these cases? Is it you? The police officer, that is correct. Daniel is a star, man. Yes, Daniel, that is correct. The police officer has the burden of proof, which means that he or she has to go first in presenting his or her evidence, and you don't have to say anything. If he can't or she can't prove his or her case, then you win. Which means that all you have to do, you don't have to prove that you're innocent, right? All you have to do is prove that, or all you have to do is show that the cop hasn't proven what he or she has set out to prove. So that's good. We're well positioned in that sense because we don't have a huge burden. On the other hand, if you're before an unsympathetic judge, you're probably fucked before you get there, so, you know, whatever. But that's why we go in front of Han instead of in front of Davis, because he actually listens to us. So just keep that in mind. The burden of proof is on the officer. You don't have to testify on your own behalf if you don't want to, right? That's the Fifth Amendment. Someone mentioned that before. God bless the Constitution. All you have to do, if anything, all you have to do is cross-examine the cop and ask him questions or her questions and see how you can poke holes in his or her story, right? And if you have a lawyer there, hopefully the lawyer will do that instead of you. So think about it from that perspective. Think about it not from the perspective of, I have to prove that I didn't do what the cop said I did. Think it from the perspective of, the cop has to prove it, and so all I need to do is cast doubt on what the cop is trying to say, okay? And so that's the kind of evidence we're looking for.
So that's the end of our presentation. I'm going to leave some of my business cards, which has my cell phone number, on the table over here. So if you guys have any questions or want help setting arraignments, taking things out, out of warrants, I'm happy to do that with you. I can do it even remotely over the phone. So feel free to call or text me. It's my number that'll be on the card, and it'll be a card that says LACLA, which is the button that Noah and I are wearing. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Lahaina. Noah, yay! Some awesome lawyers that do incredible free work. Did you guys talk about the actual, what's the ticket due date? So on a ticket, if you're issued a ticket, you think your court date is that due date, when really that's the date you're supposed to appear by. You're not going to court, you're appearing by that date. So if you want, you can go online and you can, there's a ticket. If you get a ticket, you can go online to Los Angeles Superior Court and you can look your own ticket up. And you need the ticket citation number and your date of birth. And you can book an arraignment then. You don't have to show up because that's what you would be doing on that first date. So, and that's what we do. And for the arraignment, we get the attorneys to show up so that you don't have to try and figure out how to take the bus from Venice to Beverly Hills. But we do want people to show up for their trials, which are in Santa Monica.
They are my family. For the grace of God. My sister. For the grace of God.
Gonna call it out as loud as you can. I'm gonna hear your message all over the land.
Take a look.
To get the wisdom. All over the world. To get the wisdom.
Take a look.
To get the wisdom.
Take a look.